Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Look, I'm not Earl Spence. That's the message Canelo was sending to Terence Crawford, sending to his team. You see, Canelo getting tired of all this talk. Out here, people doubting him, underestimating him. He's like, okay, you guys can think that I'm just like Earl Spence. And you guys can base Crawford's performance against Earl Spence to try to justify how you're predicting that he's going to come in there and clip Canelo, Guadalajara, Jalisco's finest. Well, just if you don't know, you will know after I get in the ring with Crawford and knock him out. That look, my friend, I'm not Earl Spence. Now make sure y'all like and subscribe. Submit to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Now listen, with Canelo and Spence, there's some similarities, okay? I mean, remember, I said similarities. I didn't say they're the same fighter because, y'all be hearing what y'all want to hear and shit. But there are some similarities. And even Canelo would admit that there are some things that they may approach in a similar manner. Being pressure fighters. For the longest, people said Earl Spence fought like a Mexican. But they said he can also box too, which Earl Spence could. But that's one of the things about Canelo and Spence that they have in common. Pressure fighters who like to have a forward momentum. If they have that forward momentum coming, and they're bringing the pressure, and they're letting their hands go, and they get their opponent on the back foot, more than likely, they're going to probably win round after round, and at some point catch up to them and break them down and stop them. You see, Canelo and Spence like to come forward, and they like to apply pressure, and that is one of the biggest things that I think Terence Crawford and his team should be concerned with, is just how to deal with the pressure Canelo's bringing. Now, Earl Spence did try that. First round, he had a little success, but you saw by the end of that round, it looked like Terence Crawford had figured him out pretty quickly. And then after the first round, it was all downhill for Earl Spence. But you see, that's because a guy like Crawford, he wants you to be aggressive. You see, because he thrives against those aggressive fighters. You saw with Earl Spence, man, he dismantled him. And what he used to dismantle Spence is what I believe Terence Crawford and his team are planning on utilizing to try and dismantle. Canelo's a monster, man, but they're going to try to dismantle Canelo. Now, what they're going to do is use counters, angles, and lateral movement. That was very effective against Earl Spence. Now, for anyone out there saying, oh, that can't work, look, we don't know until they get in the ring. The reality is this. I don't know who's going to win the fight. I don't claim to be a soothsayer, but I like to speculate, predict, analyze, dialogue. It's just a conversation, just like none of y'all know. Everybody just out here, man, either rooting for their favorite fighter or they're trying to do some kind of analysis, a deep dive to try to come close to as accurate of a prediction as possible. But I'm just telling you, man, with Canelo and the pressure, Earl Spence did the same thing, but Crawford dismantled him. I just don't think it's going to be as easy because, like a lot of people are saying, that Earl Spence that Crawford fought, hey, this ain't. Look, they felt that just wasn't the Earl Spence we had seen in, previous fights. This Canelo, I truly believe this Canelo is coming in there to take all the risk in the world to try to get Crawford out of there within 4. I really feel that. I think if he can get Crawford out of there within 1, Canelo's going to be going for it. I don't think he's going to come in there playing around. He's there to prove a point. Now, the body work focus is something that some fans are saying, okay, well, Earl Spence is the guy who tried to go to the body, and if he's going to the body, he went to the body on Crawford, and Crawford was countering upstairs. Canelo likes to go to the body. When Canelo goes to the body, Crawford's just going to counter him upstairs as well. look, we know Canelo likes to invest heavy in the body, right? Earl Spence too, but Canelo's delivery system is way different than Earl Spence's. Canelo doesn't throw, 8, 9 punches anymore when he's trying to go to the body upstairs. He's very particular in his punch selection and his output, but he's looking to make every shot count. So does he invest heavily in the body like Earl Spence? Yes. But I think Canelo is a more devastating body puncher, and he's bigger and stronger than Earl Spence, who Terence Crawford faced. But the thing about a guy like Crawford, man, is just his ability to switch stances and control distance. You saw what happened when he got in there with Earl Spence. That's exactly what he did. Earl Spence was coming in trying to put the pressure on, go to the body. He was just trying everything. Crawford out there, man, southpaw stance. He can switch, but, you've seen other fights where guys come on trying to bring pressure. Sean Porter, for example. And, you just know Crawford at any time can switch stances, control distance, and when he does that, it helps him to neutralize any body attack from his opponents. And when he does that, it creates counter opportunities. Now, can he do that against Canelo? Look, we won't know until they get in the ring. But what we do know is Canelo and Spence, they invest heavily to the body, and that's something that Crawford has shown that he's able to nullify. But will he be able to do that against Canelo? That's a whole different ball of wax. When you got Canelo coming at you, this Mexican goddamn wrecking ball coming at you. He ain't playing around. The other thing is, similarities that could benefit Crawford is just the flat-footed movement. You know what I'm saying? With Canelo and Spence, they both have flat feet. They have moments at times where they're just super flat. And I just believe that they're both elite, but at the same time, Canelo getting cruise control mode, man, like his last couple fights, that's just not good, because if he's going to have flat feet, get on cruise control, that means Canelo now becomes a stationary target. And you just can't do that in front of a sniper like Terence Crawford, because now Crawford, who excels at exploiting stationary targets with feints and sharp counters, all of a sudden Crawford is having some success. But again, these are things that Canelo has done at times. In this fight, he's not planning on doing it, but if he does do that and get flat-footed, turn into a mannequin for a moment in time, expect Crawford to try to exploit it. But it's not going to be easy, because maybe Canelo does that to bait Crawford in, to get greedy, and then make him pay. You getting greedy, you hungry? Here, a buffet of punches, all up in your mouth. And now Crawford, all of a sudden, we see him, chest to canvas, ass in the air, looking crazy. And that guard-based defense, Canelo, guard-based, coming forward. Earl Spence, jab, 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 left hand, pin you with the forearm on the rope, work with the free hand, guard-based defense, step into you. And even with Earl Spence, and Canelo's head movement was superior at one point in time. But his head movement is still phenomenal, but not like how it was before. But the bottom line is Canelo, what I'm getting at is Canelo, like Earl Spence, seemed to depend more on the high guard opposed to a whole lot of head movement right now. And that's something that I think can create a bit of an issue in the fight. And also the footwork. Canelo, because his high guard is so effective and the punches he throws are so effective, you see that Canelo's not really worried about having fancy feet and elite footwork. He's just looking to cut the ring off, high guard, step to you, go to work. Not so sure that's going to work against Terence Crawford. But the bottom line is, just because Earl Spence tried that shit, don't think that it won't work for Canelo. Canelo is a whole other ball of wax that Crawford's going to be messing around with. But the feint game and timing of Terence Crawford is something that worked against Earl Spence. He got to the point where Earl Spence was flinching. Whenever Crawford started feinting, after he started touching him up, Earl Spence was flinching. He was flinching. It was kind of sad to watch. But I'm just telling you, with the feints, with the timing, Crawford can break through defense. I just don't know if he can do it against Canelo. That's what makes this fight so interesting, because you've seen a lot of guys much bigger than Crawford try this shit, and it just didn't work. It's like they couldn't put a dent in Canelo. So to think that Canelo's not going to have success against Crawford, I mean, I don't know. But what I will tell you is something that everyone needs to be watching out for, because I could argue Canelo's going to win the fight. I could argue Terrence Crawford's going to win the fight. You guys could cross-examine me, okay? Look, let's just close the case and say we have two great fighters. It's going to be interesting, right? I think we can all, as a community, agree to that. But some shit you need to watch out for, and I'm just being real. Canelo's power at 168 pounds. Look, I know Crawford sparred big guys. He's sparring big guys in camp now. He's putting in the work. He's making sure he leaves no stone unturned when he gets in the ring with Canelo. I'm just saying, unlike Earl Spence, you know, Canelo's power is proven across multiple weight divisions. I know some people have an opinion about the Reynoso drug cartel. You should. See a guy going through multiple weight divisions, just getting stronger and better and knocking people out and shit. I mean, you should question that. But at the end of the day, look, it's just a conversation. You know what I'm saying? No conversation's off limits. Just like no conversation off limits when it comes to Crawford and this snack shit. It's all crazy. You know what I'm saying? Everything's crazy. But the bottom line is, nothing wrong with having a conversation. Crawford hasn't tested positive for anything. It looks like Canelo had his little up and down, proving, you know, that he was innocent. So that, as far as I'm concerned, we have two clean fighters. But all I'm saying is Crawford will have to respect and have to probably adjust his risk-taking more than Canelo. And that's just being real. You can't come in here and say Crawford can be very comfortable and assuming 100% of risk round after round after round and go after Canelo. No. Just like you can say Canelo just can't come in there and just assume all the risk. No. But if anyone needs to adjust their risk taking, I mean, just looking at it on paper, is Crawford needs to adjust his risk taking, not Canelo. I fully expect Canelo, depending on how the first couple of rounds go, if Canelo's having success, he's just going to high guard and walk Terrence Crawford down. And then it's about Crawford showing how great he is and the adjustments that he can make. But again, I think Crawford and his team gonna realize, okay, this ain't Earl Spence. Especially when you think about Canelo and all the different styles he faced, heavy hitters he's faced. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a pretty big deal when you start to really factor in the experience of Canelo against elite opponents. Look, man, that shit matters. And I know they got some Crawford fans out there who Crawford walks on water. And Canelo fans, Canelo walks on water. But you know, hood champion, I don't give a shit about none of that. I just like talking boxing, so I play devil's advocate all the time because I can see this shit going either way. But all I'm saying is when it comes to Canelo, man, from slick movers to heavy hitters, which Crawford can be a slick mover, he can be a heavy hitter, but Canelo's faced that. So, you know, what more is Crawford going to have to do to get a victory against Canelo? And that's for him and his team to try to sort out, man. The bottom line is Terrence Crawford is very seasoned in the boxing ring. He is. But Canelo is over-seasoned, ready to put on the grill when it comes to fighting at higher weights. And that's where Crawford could be running into a bit of an issue because Canelo's been doing this shit for a minute. I don't care. It's like, to me, I compare it to someone who's made a career being a public speaker. They can get in front of a crowd of one or a crowd of 1 million. And once they get out there on the stage, they just take to it like a fish to water. They're comfortable. And that's what Canelo is at 168 pounds. And Crawford's a guy who's done some public speaking, but, you know, maybe he did it, you know, the little soccer team he coached, the youth soccer league, and maybe little family gatherings. So is he comfortable with public speaking? Yeah, he is, but it ain't the same as getting up there having to speak in front of 1 million people about a subject that you really don't know that much about. You understand? And I think that's what it is 168 pounds is a subject that, at least in my opinion, Crawford's never fought there, so I'm going to say it's a subject he doesn't know much about. And he's about to get up there and try to give a public speech about it. And it's not, and the thing is, it's an extemporaneous speech. But you still fumble all over yourself. Because once you get up in front of that crowd and the real deal hits you, that shit gets difficult. So we're going to see just how great Crawford is. Because I'm going to tell you again, just like Canelo, he ain't Earl Spence. But the bottom line with Crawford and what happened with him and Earl Spence, look, man, it was a master class that Crawford put on. When you talk about timing, distance control, psychological pressure, everything Crawford did was flawless, and he deserves credit. But if he brings that same toolkit against Canelo, I mean, look, man, if he can adjust for the weight and power, he likes to play chess. I've seen him playing chess with, what's his name, Usyk. You know, he could make it a chess match, but I don't know, because I can see several things playing out here. I can see Canelo walking Crawford into traps. I can see how Crawford created a psychological advantage for himself against Spence. I can see Canelo creating a psychological advantage for himself against Terence Crawford. And as a result, now you see Canelo with that pressure that's not reckless like how Earl Spence was. It's calculated. Now Canelo walks Terence Crawford into traps. And that could be all bad for Terence Crawford. Canelo's a master at cutting the ring off. And then he'll bait opponents into counters. And remember, like I said, I think Canelo's going to come out guns blazing. I think he's going to come out to prove a point. That you don't belong in this ring with me, little man. Your big boy shorts are a joke to me. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to see. But I'm just saying, man, don't underestimate him. And if Crawford's trying to, find escape routes and pivot out, and I just think he has to be careful of trying to do that too often, because I just feel when Canelo's going to put that pressure on him, he may be pushing him to his right. And Crawford try to look for the escape route, especially if Crawford does it without throwing a punch. Canelo's going to be waiting to shoot hooks, at him. And he may dip like he's going low and come up high. But Crawford's a consummate professional. He's not going to sit there, you would think, and get, caught with them Guadalajara, Jalisco bing-bings. But you just don't know, because, again, if Canelo gets the upper hand with the psychological war and he has the advantage, well, you just don't know what could happen. But look for Canelo to shoot those hooks if he's putting the pressure on Crawford and Crawford's trying to escape. If he's shooting upstairs and he doesn't land, watch him go to the body. But he's going to figure it out. And Crawford can be on the move, and next thing you know, he's on the back foot. And Crawford showed me when he fought Majumov that if Crawford has to move too much and you're stepping to him but you're letting your hands go, you can land shots. And boy, I think the Canelo shots would have more of an effect on Crawford than Majumov shots. So that's one scenario I see. There's several, but I think like the second scenario, I can see the power of Canelo just overwhelming the precision of Terence Crawford. Whether we think Canelo is still firing on all cylinders, or if we think Canelo's been in cruise control his last 3-4 fights, we're all going to have an opinion about that. But one thing is a fact. Canelo's punches carry serious weight. And if he hits you, it's going to be all bad, especially if he lands clean. He's shown it over and over against everyone he's fought. If he lands a clean shot on you, your ass is up out of there. Lighter you are in the ass, more of a chance you get knocked out cold. If you got some weight on you, you're going down. You may get up to fight another day, but you're gonna go down. With Terence Crawford, I'm not so sure if he gets hit with one of them clean Guadalajara, Jalisco bombs, that he's going to get up and be like, all right, let's keep the party going. I just don't think that's going to happen. In addition to that, when it comes to that Canelo power, I would hope Terence Crawford doesn't start feeling good about himself if he's having some success. Damn, you hear that shit pop just now? Don't lift all that heavy weight when y'all young people. It catches up to you. But if Crawford tries to trade or linger in the pocket, I am telling you, even briefly, Canelo Alvarez could land a fight-ending shot or a fight-altering shot. Bottom line, he's going to land some shit that's probably going to put Terence Crawford in the queue to on your march, get set, go, and become a boxing runner. And now Canelo is probably going to end up having another Charlo-type fight, school-type fight. I know Terence Crawford has heart. Terence Crawford ain't a guy to run, but I'm telling you, Crawford said something about doing whatever you have to do to win. When he was defending Shakur Stevenson about people saying Shakur Stevenson was a runner. And the fact that he said that told me, when it comes to Terence Bud Crawford, if he gets hit and he gets hurt, he's not going to just bite down on his gum shield and initiate a mash-up, crash-up. No, he's going to tighten the strings on them goddamn boxing boots, and he's going to, feet don't fail me now, and start to haul ass around the ring. It's going to be assholes and elbows all Canelo's going to see, because Crawford going to be running away from him. But you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about him hitting Crawford upstairs. What if he lands something in the body to Crawford with those big, heavy hands? What happens if he lands something to the body to Crawford? You know what I'm saying? That shit could have shifted the momentum of the fight big time. So the bottom line is the power of Canelo could overwhelm the precision of Terence Crawford. And then you could see where Crawford is overthinking in there. He's going to have so much pressure on him, he could be overthinking the pressure. You know what I'm saying? Crawford just has like a cerebral style. We all know he's in there. He's just processing, always processing information, processing data, reading opponents, seeing what you're doing, anticipating what you're going to do. And once he gets that data process, he starts to execute. You know what I'm saying? He starts to execute. Starts sending commands, sending signals from the brain to the body. Bing, 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 bing. And things work out good for him. I just don't know if Canelo could keep a steady pace, mix up his rhythm. I just think it could disrupt everything Bud brings to the ring, especially his timing. And again, if he gets Bud going, I'm telling you, those Canelo feints, delayed combinations, I just think he could cause some serious hesitation in Terence Crawford, making him overthink, where all of a sudden now the tempo shifts to Canelo, and again, Crawford's in trouble. What I'm telling you is this is real shit that could happen, because we've seen Canelo do it before. But again, he's fighting Canelo, and you got to give Bud Crawford credit for being an elite fighter, being a champion, being a smart fighter. But these are just scenarios that it could go that way. You just don't know how someone's going to react once they get hurt. You know what I'm saying? If Canelo hurts Crawford, you just don't know if Crawford's going to unravel in that ring, or if he's going to be cool like a cucumber and keep his composure. I don't know. But we just got to wait and see, because I'll say this. I think Canelo is more durable than Terence Crawford. I do. I think he's more durable. And if Crawford can't hurt Canelo, that means that Canelo is going to fall back to his durability, and he is going to start walking through some shots and start to impose his will. So it's really important Crawford hurts Canelo. If not, I'm telling you, Canelo's just going to walk through that shit. High guard cutting the ring off and letting his hands go. And Crawford's going to be assholes and elbows, turn to a boxer runner, trying to get the hell away from the Guadalajara and Jalisco native. Because he ain't going to want to get hit with that Mexican shit. He going to be like, nah, man. Viva El Negro is going to turn to Viva Mexico Cabrones. Crawford ain't going to want nothing to do with that shit. And nobody would. I don't know how many of y'all have boxed before. You get hit and you get hurt. I'm telling you, some people, it's their instinct to fight. But a majority, when you get hit and get hurt, you're not thinking about fighting, man. That shit make you, some decision-making shit starts happening right now. Your decision-making skills, they show up big time in that ring. You're either going to fight or you're going to flight. And most people I see, when they get hurt bad, they flight. Because that shit is just a natural reaction, man, when you get hurt. It's a natural reaction. But anyway, we'll see. I just think if Crawford knows he's hit Canelo with some very hard, perfectly placed shots, I just think psychologically Crawford is going to melt down because he's going to be like, shit, I hit goddamn Canelo with these bombs and I didn't put a dent in him. And I'm just telling you, I think even Crawford, who's an elite technician, I think that will just wear you down mentally. Then if the mind goes, the body goes. And, then there goes the fight. Canelo wins by knockout. I know some of y'all aren't going to agree with me because, you're Terrence Crawford fans and you don't want to hear this, but we're just having a conversation, all right? I'm about to get off here and go lay down because I'm getting tired, but there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, the fact that Crawford is jumping weight. Look, Crawford deserves all the respect in the world for jumping weight and going after Canelo. And you know what? Whether you think he's doing it for legacy, or doing it for money, or just doing it because he can, doesn't matter, right? Because he's doing it. But Terrence Crawford, his bread and butter has been his speed and his reflexes. The timing has everything to do with his speed. His reflexes has everything to do with his speed. If he went out here and put on weight, and he for some reason, he gets in the ring and he slowed down just enough to where his timing isn't what it used to be and his reflexes aren't what they used to be, that is not going to do anything but give Canelo more of an opportunity to put the hand of God on him and bless him. And it won't be good for Crawford. We start talking about science. You start adding weight to something, slows it down, okay? And that's not just Hood Champion's opinion. That is a fucking fact, man. And I just think if Crawford slowed, just a little bit, and Canelo is really focused on coming out, putting his foot on the gas, and exploding from the first second of the first round, I just think what you're going to see is Canelo capitalizing with timing and even volume. I don't know if he'll get back to the 8-15 punch combination, all that flashy shit he used to throw, but if Canelo can just throw 4 to 6, it could be some problem for Terrence Crawford, some serious problems. Because you watch Canelo, he, like I said, his punch selection and output is very particular. 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. But, he's very particular. Pop shotting, throwing hard shots, trying to hurt you. But if he comes out there, old Canelo, vintage Canelo, he's just half of what he was with them 4 to 6, 7 punch combinations. Gonna be all bad, all bad. So, again, it's not just about power. You know what I'm saying? It's about how the weight affects Crawford's ability to evade the offense of Canelo and for Crawford to reset. And if Canelo has prepared to the point to where he can keep that constant pressure on Terrence Crawford, let me tell you, Crawford trying to evade and reset, he's going to recognize me evading, I can do that, but it's not giving me an opportunity to reset. And that's where Crawford he's going to turn into a runner. And it's going to be all bad for Terrence Crawford. So there you go. I just gave you on several scenarios where, Crawford is going to be in trouble. And it can all happen. Just like Crawford could go in there and prove to us that he has this Herculean power and he's this super special fighter, and Canelo really has slowed, and just enough to where Crawford can go in there after a year of inactivity and still put the Omaha, Nebraska bing-bings on Canelo. Anything can happen. But this video is about Canelo reminding everybody, hey, look, I'm not Earl Spence. So get that shit out your mind. What you did to Earl Spence, yeah, we have some similarities, but understand this fight can go several ways, and Hood Champion just covered them all. And Terrence Crawford normally has an answer for everything, but the power could be a big deal. Canelo's durability could be a big deal. Crawford not being able to evade and reset could be a big deal. So remember, Canelo's pressure is not just physical. That shit is mental. And when the mind goes, the body goes. So if Crawford's team is counting on, Canelo to somehow, be Earl Spence, they better have layers of contingency plans because they have wrongly mistaken. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Anyway, we're gonna see how the fight goes. I'm still out here shouting. One day you may hear me shout, "Viva Mexico Cabrones." Next day, "Viva El Negro Cabrones." But I'm always shouting, "Y'all keep cool, I'm in the breeze."